All right, crafty friends, it is time for the mystery envelope, and this time Katie sent it to us. And I love one sheet wonders. I always have. They just quick, easy. So she sent us 2 6x6 pieces from the new Home for Christmas paper pack and a little bit of the zip strip. And she would like us to do some sort of a one sheet wonder. And then she even gave us some suggestions of where to find these. So I just thought this was great. She sent a piece of chipboard with the paper, and I might end up using it. But what I have found is I love one sheet wonders, so I went to everstamps.com or Verve maybe stamps, but I had a couple of these. But what I'm going to do is, if you look, so here's 1A and 1B, so you actually can cut this twice. And so for this sketch, you would have this piece for 1A on one card and then this for 1B, and then you would have the reverse of it. So you would end up actually getting 8 cards by cutting these 2 pieces together. So I think what I'm going to do is add some of the cardstock colors to these so that I can mix and match all of my pieces. So I'm going to add 2 sheets of cardstock, so that'll get me 16 cards. So let's go grab some cardstock and I'll be right back. So as you can see, some of the colors that are in the Home for Christmas paper pack are the Scarlet, Mocha, Pine, Jade, and Candy Apple. And so the Scarlet wasn't working for me. I thought about cutting it for the poinsettias, but none of that was working for me. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make kind of a foundation or a card base that's of color for every card. So I took this pine cardstock and I'm cutting it into 4-inch strips, and I miscounted. So I had grabbed 3 sheets of paper, but I took the first one out after I made the first cut, thinking that I would get the 15 fronts, and I really need 16. So math was not my friend today, which is funny because I'm normally really good at it. So you cut those down into 4-inch strips and then just cut each of those down to 5 1/4, and that'll give you an 1/8 of an inch border around a standard card base. So now I'm going to cut this together with you. So our first cut is the strips 2A and 2B, and I really do like these patterns. There's multiple of this set out there, but they give you the arrows of which cut is first. And also, I forgot at the time, but the pattern papers match the size that's on this. So if you're not good at cutting it all, you can print out this pattern and then put it right over top of your paper and just cut it with the lines and the paper. And you can do that as many times as you want. So you can see here that I am doing the cuts, and then I'm going to add these other 2 pieces over. And then these strips that are longer and I need to go ahead and cut in half, I'm just following the patterns here. So the first cut was 3/4 of an inch, and then you cut the next piece that's 6 inches down. But I'll do that one more time with you and kind of show you. But you can look on your pattern and see exactly what the cuts are. So I'm going to move those off to the side so that we can start this all over again. And like I said, I just kind of went and grabbed 2 sheets of cardstock kind of as a solid base to go along with the papers that Katie sent us. So my first cut, like I said, is 1/4 inch, and then I will turn that and cut off another 1/4 inch, and that's pieces 2A and 2B. And I'm just adding those to my piles under the paper there. And then my next cut is at 3 inches. And then with half of that 3-inch piece, I am going to cut off another 3/4 of an inch. And I didn't get it all the way cut all the way through. I wasn't paying attention. So then this piece you cut into 2 1/4, and then it leaves you a 3-inch piece left. And now this next piece is 2 1/4 wide. So you're going to cut 2 1/4 for a square, and then a 1-inch piece that leaves you a 2-inch piece. I don't know if that makes any sense, but again, just print this pattern and just cut it out. And if, like I said, even if you have trouble cutting, it's done exactly as a 6x6 size. So now I've cut all these, and so I have 4 pieces of each paper to choose from. So I'm grabbing pieces 1A and 1B, and you can kind of see in the bottom how it has that first card recommended. And I'm grabbing a poinsettia that I had left over from a project I did last month. And just to kind of give it spacing. I do know that I'm going to want to do a red poinsettia, and I actually started the cut when I left this morning to take my son to school, so that all the veins would be cut by the time that I got back, because it's a pretty long run to school and back with traffic. So now I'm grabbing pieces 2A and 2B for the second card, and these are just one long thin strip with one tiny 3/4 inch square. And I'm just kind of picking what I want to go with the plaid, what I want to go with the poinsettias. There is on the back side of the poinsettias, I believe, there's some green tone-on-tone leaf paper. And I don't end up using that, but that is an option that you could have, especially if you started with 2 of these 12 by 12 sheets of paper. You could cut them in half and cut those in half and get your 4x4 squares just using both sides of the 2 pieces of paper. I hope that makes sense. So now I have grabbed the 3 pieces for card 3, so A, B, and C. And then I'm trying to get my pattern out of the way so that I have room to work and you can see what I'm doing. So I actually have some stamp pads that are stacked just off camera. So I tucked the paper in underneath there and put a block on it to hold it in place. So that's why it's a little kittywampus. So now I'm just, like I said, I'm auditioning the pieces. And for me, the pieces that are on either side of the square in the middle need to match. I mix and matching the patterns for my brain just isn't going to work. I'm sure other people could do it, but for me, I just needed to have some consistency. So now card 3 is put together, and our last one, card 4, again, I'm just kind of making those decisions of what components go with what. And this is quick and easy. So I do assembly line style processing when I'm making like Christmas cards or cards for my friends or people as thank yous. Now this is an old stamp set from my stash. I'm going to see if I can grab that here and tell you the name of it. It's called Card Chatter Christmas, and it's D1388. So with that 13 number, you know that it is an old stamp set. So my first thought, or my first process, is to go ahead and measure the stamp so I know how big my sentiment pieces need to be, and then I just cut that exactly as I want it. I grab my MISTI, and then I love, if you haven't seen my suction cup trick, there's suction cups listed below the description of the video from Amazon that clip right to the top of our ink pads, and as long as you have 3 or 4 ink pads stacked together, it's strong enough to overcome that magnet, and it's so easy to use the MISTI for that. So now I'm going back over to my Cricut cuts. I've cut out the veining in the top poinsettia leaf in gold cardstock, and then 2 layers in the red, the candy apple red, and then 1 layer in the jade green. So I'm showing you here that for me, in assembly line style, I always dry fit to see which direction the leaf goes in. And even here, after I put the glue on it, you'll see that I end up having to turn it around 6 times because I didn't actually line it up correctly the first time. So here I'm spinning it because there's like 2 longer petals on this flower, and I lined it up backwards. But so those are off to dry, and once you have all these assembled, then I'll show you for shaping. It's super easy. Now for the flower part of the poinsettia, I use my bone folder, and there is a link for that below in the description as well, because I love it. It's a 2-piece set, and I love that it has the shape end on this bone folder. So I just pull the petals up like I would on curling ribbon and use my thumb to kind of bend or break down the fibers in the cardstock. And you can see that I'm putting a fair amount of pressure in there. So like I said, for me, this is a great project where you get it all cut. You have all your components kind of, if you want to ink the edges, do all that. But it's a great binge watch some shows or catch up on an audiobook time frame. So then for the bottom leaf, as you saw, I just, in the foam, instead of curling it up, I just draw a line into the foam so that those leaves are all pointy. And again, for my assembly line style, I'm going to do them in batches. So I find that I don't ever do more than 5 at a time. A lot of times I do 4, and part of that is because that's how many fingers I have. And so I can hold down the center or hold a piece with each one of my fingers as my other hand kind of continues to assemble. That's just what works for me. I like to be efficient and I don't want to say speedy because I enjoy the crafty process, but there is some satisfaction to having a beautiful card to send to somebody that you didn't take away too much of your family time. So here, as you can see, I'm using my fingers to hold that in the glue and continuing to just move forward with the rest of my flowers. So I'm not going to show you assembling all of them, but I just wanted to give you an idea of assembly line processing and what works for me. So all my flowers are assembled. I'm grabbing card 1. I pulled a card base out, and then I'm just looking at this pattern here. I've put a picture of it in the upper right corner of the screen so you can see with pieces 1A and 1B. My sentiment is not the same size as the recommended, but you can do whatever you want to do. And if you notice the back side of my sentiment is dark, it's because paper is two-sided and I reuse paper all the time. So I had some cardstock that I had printed incorrectly, and so it was just in my stash to be used, and sure enough, today is the day it's getting used. And the other thing that you could do for these cards, and I will do that for some of the other ones, is all of those pine backgrounds, you could do the stencil, the poinsettia stencil that we have from our idea book, or you could run it through an embossing folder, or you can run your stencil through an embossing folder and get a little bit of an image on that, or just a faint. So there's so many options you can do with that flat green. I was kind of trying to keep it simple, and so I just got out my white gel pen, my old sequins, and sure enough, I'm just going to add some gold sequins to coordinate with the gold veins on the center of the flower, and we're about good to go. The other thing that I do up front, and I didn't do it for this first card, is I normally stamp all of my insides first. So the sentiment on this stamp is one that I really like. It says, "There is no greater gift at Christmas." That's what's on the outside of the card. And then this on the inside says, "Than to have everything you want before you open the gifts." And so just to give it a little bit of tie-in to the front with all of the red out there, I'm just taking my blender brush and that candy apple and just adding a little halo or haze of color behind my stamping. We are moving along to card 2. And like I said, I will do variations of all of these cards in the next couple days and have them on my Facebook group. So if you want to go check that out or join our Facebook group, there is a link below in the video description. And I think almost everybody in Makers with Heart has a Facebook group that you can go and check out what they're doing and see if there's things that you like from them that, go ahead and support all of these wonderful creative people. It's easy to do. Like a video, subscribe to their channel. Those are all free things. Go into their group and post photos and questions and just kind of interact. And all of those things don't cost you anything but really help out. And it's funny, as I'm doing this card, I realized that I didn't really dry fit it enough to get a feel for how I wanted to put the sentiment on. So I'm kind of doing it on the fly, which is not my preferred method. I think the card is beautiful. I don't think the person receiving it is going to go, "Oh, this card is out of balance. I don't really like it. I can't believe Amanda sent me this." I just can't imagine anybody saying that. It's a homemade card. It's beautiful. It sends season's greetings. So we are on to card number 3. And this, like I said, has the 3 pieces, 3A, 3B, and 3C. And I learned my lesson, so I am definitely dry fitting this more. But I did not learn my lesson and to pay attention to how far from the edge those 2 outer stripes were. So when I go to assemble the card, you'll see that I line it up 3/4 in from each edge, and that's too much. They should have been at 1/2 inch in from each edge, and then there's more room for that center square. You'll see what I mean here. So I'll straighten up my card and put it right at that 3/4 inch mark. And this glue, although it gives you some time to move around, by the time I realize it, that first piece that I glued down is too far gone. So I did manage to get that first piece up and slide it over kind of to the 1/2 inch mark. And again, I don't see people complaining that my card is off balanced. And if they do, it'll be a great conversation starter of, oh, do you make a lot of homemade cards? And we can go from there, right? So here again, these poinsettias, they just add so much. The pattern, the one sheet wonder, you just cut the 4 different papers and you're going to have all of these beautiful cards. Pull out some of your embellishments, kind of use up your stash if you have any. And these cards are coming together very quickly. So now we are on to our last card, and I'm finally finding my groove and my rhythm. All month I've been doing Disney scrapbooking pages for another 30 Days of Sketches challenge. So you can check out all of those videos if you want on my channel, along with everybody else that's playing along. So cards have not been something that I've been doing lately. I've really been focused on scrapbooking. So this challenge from Katie is great in that it's getting me brought ahead for having some Christmas cards ready to go. So here I'm just eyeballing where the center is on this. It's funny, when I first saw this card, I wasn't feeling it. Like, just at this point, I'm not understanding the direction as far as, I just wasn't feeling it. But as soon as I added that third element of the sentiment, added that poinsettia on there, and then the 3 sequins, it all came together. And again, just quick and easy. If you haven't grabbed one of these pickup tools yet, I cut mine in half. I have 2 of them. You just use a pencil sharpener to sharpen it, but you can see how much control you have over picking up those tiny sequins, which I absolutely love. So my finishing touches on all the rest of the cards is I'm just going to do some hand doodling with my gel pen. And I have a stamp set that does these corners. And I think next time, in my pickiness and not liking my shaky handwriting, I will probably use my stamp set to do the corners. But I'm just trying to give you ideas of what you can do. And again, if you're one of those people that would complain about getting a messy homemade card, let me know and I can send you some of mine so that you can give me some feedback of what I can do differently. I would say better, but that's not the case. I think we just all have fun with it. And I'm joking, of course. But here, so you can do a faux stitched edge. You can do the double corner lines. And then on the last card, it was funny, I kept thinking, well, what can I do here? I'm trying to figure this out. And sure enough, what I end up doing is just 3 dots in the bottom right corner, or bottom 2 corners, and then above the corner of the red cardstock, just to kind of tie that all together. Kind of reminded me of holly berries. So be sure to check out what everybody else has done with our challenge this month. I will have a playlist that has all of our projects, including the ones for this month.